Okay, I guess let's just do something simple, like we'll just say words or like language. The big thing with words and language, it's the most powerful tool we have on planet Earth. That's what separates us from the other animals, is that we have the ability to communicate by words. And we could transmit our thoughts and actions around the world in a second just by our words. And the legal society, like the Boy Scout Society or the Girl Scout Society or the Societal Order of the Ku Klux Klan, they all have their own way of defining and, their meanings of these words. It's a term of art. I just go, a term of art, like this man, who's the man who owns this place? Craig. I'm sure within the, chiropractic, profession, there's certain words that he could say to another chiropractor they know like instantly, and me and you would be like, what? So we'd have no clue. Like, say a simple word that I could think off the top of my head, because this is the first word in my dictionary for the letter L, is latch. Now, you can't latch a man, and the same thing in the legal society, but this is how they spell latch. But this is how we spell latch. So it's almost identical. And then for some reason, they have something called law, and for some reason, we have something called law. The laws, the customs, traditions, and practices of people that's passed down from generations through words. But for some reason, they turn the word law into that. Or they'll turn latch into that. You can't latch a man, but you can latch a person. So it's interesting how they just play these little word games. So like we speak the common law. They speak some sort of, they'll say, well, you folks are doing the common law. Well, no, I'm doing the common law. Whether, like I said, my dad, thank God my dad couldn't read or write English. Thank God my dad was German, and he couldn't, so thank God my dad, if they tried to hand my dad a piece of paper, my dad would just look at it and say, well, what's this Chinese hieroglyphics nonsense? He's like, no, it's English. Well, that's special. I don't know what this means. Well, let me tell you what it means. It's like, what do you think, I just fell off the turnip truck? Or who are you? Who are you to tell me anything? Well, this is what it reads. Yeah. That's what I heard you told the Indians what those treaties meant, too. So thank God my dad wasn't like my mom, who was a straight-A student. My dad basically was in and out of reform school his whole life, so he didn't know how to read or write, thank God. So he taught me these very, very basic, simple beliefs that I'm passing down to you folks now. And I hope the man who went back to Africa to meet his people in Chad or the Sudan called me on the phone when he got back home, and he said to me, Carl, I went into my homeland. I went out to the back and went to the jungle, and I talked to the people in my village through an interpreter, and I tried to explain to them like law. And they said, Carl, when I walked into my village, they sounded like you. Every single one of them sounded exactly like I was talking to Karl Lentz. They can't read or write. They have no radio contact, but they know these basic, simple, common law terms that's been around since time began, since caveman began. Like I said, if you try to steal something from somebody, that's wrong. I don't give a damn. How you try to create try to enact it. I don't care if you try to create a bill or a law saying that they could steal, they could take something away from another man without fair and just compensation. It's wrong. It's so wrong. And that's how I try to explain to people. When you try to say, like, the common law, I'll just do CL. When you try to say this common law, the common law would be more like what would be considered natural law. Common law is something that you can't enact, you can't modify, you can't change, you can't regulate, you can't control, you can't void it, you can't vacate it. So when you have a common law, it's like if I drop that pen, the law of gravity is going to make it hit down to the ground. Now, he could be the king of Johnson City and says, I create an edict today that we will defy the law of gravity, or we will defy the law of nature, and nobody in my kingdom will die ever again because I'm the king. So I'm going to enact it into a law. So there's nobody to be, no death anymore. For some reason, you think you're going to play God, and for some reason, you think that you could modify law. You can't change law, but you can modify court orders. You could vacate orders. You could, when you have an act of parliament, you could void it. But the law you can't modify, alter, amend. The law is the law for all time. And the law, whether the law here, it's universally accepted. Like you go to any planet, you go any place on a galaxy, gravity will still, be the law. Stealing will still steal. I don't care if you take something away from a Vulcan, he'll still say, hey, where you going with that? You take something from my dog, even my dog knows that he's stealing from another dog, that it's probably going to be instant death. You better not steal from another dog. So it doesn't need to be written down. So the common law would be what you'd call the unwritten law. And what's great about every single legal dictionary, when you go for the definition of common law, it says the unwritten law. Thank God, every single legal dictionary says the same thing, unwritten. Because when it's the written law, it's law that's controlled by man, law written by man. It's by the hand of man, so it's black and white. It's written in black and white. The unwritten law isn't written. So, let me give you a little hint about that. If you ever go to court, and like I said, say a simple word, like argue, okay? I love that word. If the judge says something to you when you first walk in the court, said, you need to try this free man patriot stuff, and the judge says, are you here to argue today? 99% of people say, no, I'm not here to argue. And then the judge would say, great, good, the other side wins. Because argue means to make something crystal clear, to bring something forward, to shine, to polish, to make things white. So argue actually means to lift something up and expose it. So yes, I want to argue. I'm damn right I'm here to argue. So if I don't, you're going to give the other side is going to prevail. So I better argue my case. But they try to make it seem like, when you're in school, the teachers say, oh, why can't you just be nice like everybody else? Why do you got to argue? And nice actually means a fool in French. Why can't you just be a fool? And why do you got to argue? Why can't you just do what we tell you to do? Well, your son's not nice, and he argues all the time. Oh, hooray. He's not a fool, and he tries to bring his beliefs forward. Oh, that's fantastic. So he's becoming a man. That's what I love to hear. But they'll try to discourage that behavior.